The jungle wasn't quiet. It was listening. Branches didn't just sway, they tilted, aware. Leaves shimmered like sentries. Every inch of Veltrax 9 was alive, breathing, watching the intruders. 12 armored figures moved in a staggered column through the undergrowth, their polished exosuits gleaming under fractured light. They spoke too loudly, laughed too often. Their leader, a four-armed Threxian named Viekor, raised a gauntlet hand. "Scans are clear," he barked in Galactic common. "No human life signatures. Just flora, fauna, and weak thermal anomalies. Push forward." They didn't notice the vine that hadn't been there seconds ago. The last soldier in the column, a young recruit named Dexter, didn't feel the ground shift. He had time to blink once before a pit opened beneath him. Not a sound. Just gone. Silent. The jungle sealed the hole behind him. 10 steps later, they realized he was missing. High above, buried in vines and shadow, Connor, Hawk, Graves exhaled. Slow. Controlled. He pulled back from the monocular lens of his old recon drone, which he'd strung 30 feet up on a dead branch. The image fed into his wrist pad, outdated by Galactic standards, but customized beyond anything they could detect. "Target 1 neutralize," he muttered. His voice was a low rasp, weathered by sandstorms and silence. He didn't move. Didn't blink. Just watched. The enemy was disorganized already. Amateur hour. Hawk slid backward into the brush, each step deliberate, silent. His ghillie mesh blended perfectly with the moss-blanketed roots. This jungle had once trained Earth's best killers. It remembered them, and it remembered him. 3 clicks south, a transport pad hummed where the rest of the Galactic Vanguard celebrated. Commander Zorvac stood atop a small outcrop, flanked by banners and his 2 personal guards, massive, tusked Varnak twins. Around him, fire canisters flared, casting golden light onto crates of victory rations and plasma brews. "To the end of the Terran pest problem!" Zorvac bellowed. The alien troops cheered, toasting with metal mugs. "Their recon squad fled! The jungle is ours!" He smiled. Arrogant. Pleased. A transmission came through. One of the scouts, Viekor's squad, was missing. Then the line went dead. Zorvac didn't frown. He laughed. "Humans run. That's what they do," he said. Back in the undergrowth, Viekor's team wasn't laughing. They were down to 8 now. One tripped a wire, compressed spring, sharpened bone, straight through the throat. The alien gargled a wet scream. The rest froze. "I thought they were gone," hissed another. Viekor clenched his mandibles. "Scan again." "Still nothing," said his tech. They didn't realize their scanners were being fed loops from a spliced Vanguard drone. Hawk's stewing. A few meters away, Hawk adjusted the last of the spikes beneath a false vine canopy. Sweat rolled down his temple. He didn't wipe it. Movement got people killed. He was alone, by design. The recon team he'd come to extract was being held in a slave cage north of the ridge. No support. No backup. Just him. Just the jungle. And that was enough. An explosion snapped through the trees. Viekor's squad dove. Their rear guard had stepped on a pressure plate. Not enough to kill. Just loud. Just bloody. A warning. They regrouped, eyes darting. One tried to call base. Nothing. Static. Jammed. That's when they noticed the sign. A crude wooden board, hammered into a branch with a Terran combat knife. Written in red clay still wet. "Welcome to Earth's backyard." Panic spread. Not full-blown yet, but it cracked into their posture. Their leader urged calm. "Tactics. Formation. Fall back." Too late. A rustle. A blur. Viekor turned in time to see the glint of human eyes before the knife opened his throat sideways. No shot. No sound. Just the thump of a body into wet moss. Hawk didn't linger. Slipped into the green like smoke. 2 minutes later, one of the Varnak twins stomped into the clearing, called there by a distress beacon. What he found: 8 corpses. 3 hanging upside down from vines. 1 missing a head. All arranged deliberately, circles and arrows drawn in ash around them. In the center, a helmet. One of theirs. Inside it, Hawk's old seal patch. The insignia was stitched onto soaked cloth. He dipped it in the blood of Viacor. The patch read, "If I bleed, you break." The Varnak screamed. Hawk stood on a cliff edge an hour later, watching torchlights flicker below. The jungle whispered behind him. It wanted more. He tapped his mic. "Command won't listen," he said into the channel. "So I'll show them." He paused. 3 down. 9 to go. He clicked off. And disappeared back into the green. The jungle never slept. It watched. It waited. It whispered to those who knew how to listen. Hawk moved through it like a memory, silent, impossible to trace. His footsteps left no prints. The canopy swallowed him, the vines parted like old allies. His presence wasn't felt, it was sensed, too late. The alien soldiers were beginning to feel that. In the ruined chapel of a long-abandoned Terran outpost, Zorvac paced. His jaw clenched, his eyes flicked toward the scorched data screen crackling on the wall. He had lost contact with a second scout team. No bodies recovered. Just signal loss, followed by a flash of static. He slammed his clawed fist into the console. "Status!" He barked at his operations chief, a feathered Avani named Kel. Kel fidgeted. "Sir, the terrain interferes. Their tech doesn't match. Don't give me excuses. Give me a body." Zorvac turned back to the holographic map. The human recon unit was still marked as captured, their biosigns faint but active. Alive, somehow. And someone was hunting his men. He just didn't understand who. Not yet. Hawk crouched by a streambed, coating his arms with ash and tree sap. The thick mixture masked his scent, distorted heat signatures, and dulled his skin's shimmer against infrared scans. A trick learned from Veltrax's predators, ones that didn't use camouflage but became shadow. He tightened the strap of his gear, checked the handmade clay mines in his pouch, and slid a spiked trap over his shoulder. The jungle would fight with him. Not because it cared, but because it never forgot who treated it like home. Just after nightfall, the soldiers began hearing things. At first, distant screaming. Not mechanical. Not human. Something wrong. Then came the laughter. Short bursts. Male. Calm. Confident. Terran. Kel reported it first. "Audio feed corrupted again, Commander." Same voice, only in the eastern quadrant. Repeating a phrase. Zorvac leaned in. "What phrase?" Kel hesitated. Then tapped the playback. "You don't hear the jungle. That's why you die in it." Zorvac's hands twitched. "Send in the drones." "We did, sir." 4 times. They never returned. Hawk had dismantled the last drone with a stripped wire and a steel bolt. 1 shot to the core. Then rewired the optics and memory feed, splicing old recordings of past Vanguard missions and overlaying them onto live feed. To the enemy, it looked like peaceful jungle. Untouched. To Hawk, it was the perfect stage. A patrol of 6 moved along Ridge Point 3 under flickering lights. The air was heavy, too still. One of them, a smaller species with digitigrade legs, paused by a rock. "Did you hear that?" "No," said the leader. "Keep moving." A breeze touched his neck. He spun. No one there. But something was. Hawk had already passed behind them, dropping a marked bone dagger onto the trail. The symbol etched into the hilt was unmistakable, the sealed trident. Message received. Panic set in. "Something's here. Something's watching us," said the last soldier. "No signals on scan." "Then why is my skin crawling?" Zorvac had seen battlefield madness before. He didn't believe in superstition. He believed in dominance. "Enough with shadows," he snapped. "He wants to play? We'll bait him." But Hawk had already planned for that. They found what looked like a wounded Terran, slumped against a tree, blood smeared down his arm, his rifle broken. "Alive!" one soldier shouted. "He's one of them!" The team approached. Too quickly. The body shifted. Not human. A dummy. Heat-wrapped. Mouth rigged with a sound loop. Before they could react, click! A concussive blast threw the squad off their feet. No deaths. Not the point. The message was the point. Scrawled on a strip of Terran ration tape, tied to the body's boot. Rule number 1, don't celebrate early. Up in the canopy, Hawk watched the chaos unfold. He checked the time. 4 hours to extraction. His recon team was being moved. He tapped the enemy comms earlier, just enough to catch the direction. Northern Ridge. 600 meters uphill, low cover. He marked the route in his mind. Not by terrain, but by memory. Every vine. Every rise in the trail. Every sound. Back at base, Zorvac had lost patience. "Send in the scorch unit. Burn it all." Kell's feathers ruffled. "Sir, that will kill the prisoners." "Do it." He turned to his personal guards. "If he wants a war, we'll give him hell." Hawk reached the ridge just before dawn. The cage was visible from the tree-line, 3 battered humans inside, barely conscious. A single guard nearby, pacing. Arrogant. Tired. Perfect. Hawk lowered himself onto the slope. One breath. One shot. A jagged spike launched from his wrist launcher, straight into the guard's throat. He never even dropped his weapon. Hawk reached the cage. The team looked up. One of them, Ramirez, blinked twice. "You're not dead," she whispered. "Neither are you," he said, slicing the lock with a heated blade. Another soldier tried to stand. Collapsed. "Time to go," Hawk said. "Extraction in 3. But we'll need a distraction." He turned, activated his mic on an open frequency. Then he spoke loud and clear. "Zorvac. You don't know me yet. But you will. You took my people. You played war in my backyard. Now I'm going to show you what real war looks like." Then he set the jungle on fire. The jungle, once quiet, now roared with chaos. Zorvac's forces scrambled, their carefully laid plans crumbling with every step. The Scorch unit, once a symbol of the Vanguard's might, was now just a scattered shell of confusion. Everywhere they turned, the jungle offered nothing but shadow and death. The jungle didn't just consume, it crushed. It was a war of attrition now. Zorvac's pride kept him in the field. His voice barked commands over a static-laden calm channel. "Focus! Find the Terran!" Zorvac's words crackled through the comms, his patience wearing thin. "Don't let them scatter." The heat was unbearable, the air thick with the acrid smell of smoke and charred earth. His elite troops, used to the sterile precision of galactic warfare, were beginning to falter. They weren't prepared for this. They weren't prepared for him. Hawk's presence had become more than a threat. It was a ghost, a shadow that haunted every step they took. Every step Zorvac took. Hawk crouched low against the ridge, observing the military cluster below through the sight of his plasma sniper rifle. His recon team was already ahead, leaving the ruins of the cage behind. They'd made it through the first extraction point undetected, but that wouldn't last long. The Vanguard would have traced them by now. The team would be caught if they weren't smart. His mind raced. Tactical patience was everything in situations like this. They were heading into a trap, but Hawk had seen it coming. His eyes stayed trained on the cluster of enemy soldiers below, their disarray like a flashing neon sign. They were getting close. Too close. He leaned into the rifle, his finger on the trigger. One shot. Precision. His target was Zorvac's personal guard, the one closest to the communications tower. A clean shot through the helmet's weak spot. The shot rang out, the bolt tearing through the soldier's throat with deadly accuracy. It was a clean kill, but Hawk didn't wait to watch. He didn't need to. Zorvac's head snapped around as the shot hit, but it was too late. The guard's body slumped to the ground, his rifle falling from limp fingers. Take cover! Zorvak roared, his eyes blazing with fury. Do not let them break formation! They scattered, but Hawk was already gone. He had melted back into the shadows, moving as silently as the jungle itself. The battlefield had changed. He wasn't just playing defense anymore. Now he was on the offensive, pulling at the threads of Zorvak's confidence, unraveling everything they thought they knew about war. Zorvak was seething, his forearms clenching into fists. He had underestimated this human. Big mistake. Deploy the thermals. Lock on to their heat signatures. He snapped. I want them fried. He turned to Kel, who was nervously adjusting the energy-dampening field. Set up perimeter scans. Now. Kel nodded, but he didn't move quickly enough. Where are the drones? Zorvak demanded. They've all been. Kel stammered. Zorvak didn't need to hear more. He turned sharply, already issuing orders to his remaining soldiers. We'll burn them out. But Hawk was ahead of them. Always. Hawk slid deeper into the undergrowth, the leaves swallowing him whole. He could feel the tension in the air. The vanguard wasn't just searching anymore. They were hunting. They had no idea who they were hunting. Hawk's ears picked up the distant hum of the vanguard's pulse rifles, their energy blasts slicing through the foliage. He didn't need to look. He could feel the heat of their weapons. A standard tactic for flushing out an enemy in a jungle environment. But this was his home, and the jungle wasn't theirs. He shifted direction. He knew Zorvak would bring the full weight of his forces now. They would burn everything in their path, search every inch of the jungle. But Hawk had something they didn't: experience. He'd learned the jungle's rhythm. The way it moved. The way it died and reborn in each cycle. He was a ghost, and the vanguard were mere shadows, easy to misdirect. 2 hours later, Zorvak's team had already begun their sweep. The ground was scorched, the scent of burning brush thick in the air. But the vanguard was slowing down. They were scared. They had encountered nothing but traps. Fallen logs with spikes, ground wires that triggered blinding light flashes. The jungle seemed to fight for Hawk with every step they took. I want them dead, Zorvak muttered to himself, barely audible. The walls were closing in. His soldiers had been effective in their earlier assaults, but not against Hawk. The human was too resourceful, too unpredictable. And worse, Hawk knew how to use the terrain to his advantage. Zorvak's heart burned with rage, but beneath it, he felt the weight of doubt. Could they actually win this? At the far end of the battlefield, Hawk set his plan into motion. The air crackled with tension as Zorvak's forces circled. The soldiers, though they tried to maintain discipline, were rattled. Their guns swiveled from side to side, each moment a new threat. The trees shook as a distant explosion went off. Not far enough. But close enough. Hawk hit the switch. The explosion was nothing more than a diversion, a brief flash of light and smoke, just enough to draw attention. Zorvak's men began to close in on the blast site, their focus narrowing. And that's when Hawk struck. One by one, his traps activated. He'd lined the jungle with them like a spider's web, small explosive charges, pressure plates, even a few predator drones that emitted false signals. They detonated in sequence, each one louder than the last. The vanguard's line fractured, soldiers spinning in panic, firing wildly at the shadows that never seemed to be there. Hawk's voice rang out over the comms, sharp, mocking. Is this your idea of winning, Zorvak? Zorvak's response was feral. You are dead, human! I'll make sure of it. But Hawk didn't respond. He didn't need to. He was already ahead. Again. And Zorvak? He was trapped. Zorvak's boots sank into scorched soil as he pushed forward through smoke and static. His eyes scanned the treeline, nothing but charred stumps and broken branches. All he had left were 8 soldiers. 8 from an original force of 40. The jungle was silent again. Too silent. No wind. No wildlife. Just the ticking weight of wrongness. He clenched his jaw. Sweat slid under his armor plates. The sensors were useless now, scrambled by whatever Terran tech had been left buried in the dirt. "Where is he?" he muttered. No one answered. Up in the canopy, Hawk waited. 30 feet above ground, he balanced silently on a thick vine-wrapped branch. His muscles didn't tremble. His breath was steady. The shot he was about to take wasn't just calculated, it was necessary. Zorvac had stepped into the final arena. Beneath the jungle's shattered canopy, Hawk had prepared the kill zone, sharpened stalks buried in the mud, heat-triggered mines, redirected fauna pheromones to draw local predators to the perimeter. A full ecosystem of chaos, coiled and waiting. But Zorvac didn't walk into chaos. He commanded it. The commander stepped forward, his remaining troops fanned in a semicircle around him, their rifles scanning. His voice echoed, loud, steady, deliberate. "You're outnumbered. Outgunned. Cornered." He paced. "I'm still standing. Your tricks are exhausted." Silence. "I know your kind. You think war is hiding in dirt, setting off firecrackers, playing ghost. But in the end, you'll stand and die like the rest." Still no answer. Zorvac smirked. He turned to his men. "Flush him." That was the signal Hawk had waited for. The first blast came from below, one of the vanguard soldiers stepping into a soil sink laced with charged barbs. His scream cut the air. The others turned, too late. Hawk dropped from the canopy. He landed behind the leftmost soldier, knife slicing clean across the alien's throat before he even registered movement. One shot, shoulder mounted, caught another between the eyes. The squad scattered. Hawk moved like wind. No wasted motion. No pause. His boots barely touched the ground as he circled them, striking, vanishing, striking again. Zorvac spun, roaring, firing blindly into the trees. "Show yourself, coward!" Hawk's voice came from behind. "I did. You blinked." Zorvac whipped around. Hawk was already gone. Two more of the vanguard fell in the next 30 seconds, one to a swinging spike log trap, the other caught in a flashbang net that stunned him just long enough for Hawk's blade to find his spine. Then it was just Zorvac and the twins. The Varnak brothers stood shoulder to shoulder, their weapons raised. Towering and broad, they were bred for close-quarters brawls. They didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Hawk like that. He stepped into the clearing, visible now. No tricks. Just man versus monsters. Zorvac's lips curled. "You finally show your face." Hawk didn't reply. He raised his hands, fingers curled, ready. The first Varnak charged. It was like watching a freight train sprint. But Hawk didn't back down. He sidestepped at the last second, planting a shock blade into the creature's knee. The Varnak howled, stumbling, and Hawk twisted, driving the blade deeper. The second lunged. Hawk dropped low, sweeping the legs and firing an electro-shot into the alien's ribcage. Sparks burst from the impact. The first twin tried to rise. Hawk fired a bolt into his eye. He dropped for good. The second swung a massive arm, catching Hawk in the ribs. Pain flared. Hawk grunted, rolled back, caught breath, then launched upward with a short spear straight into the Varnak's throat. Silence again. Only Zorvac remained. He stepped forward, drawing both plasma swords, their edges humming with deadly light. "Enough games?" he snarled. "No more shadows. Just you and me." Hawk nodded once. "Good," he said. "I'm tired of ghosts." Then they clashed. Steel met plasma. Sparks flared. Zorvac's strikes were brutal, wild, powered by rage. Hawk's movements were tight, precise, like a sculptor cutting marble. Zorvac swung wide. Hawk ducked. Countered. A cut to the side. Zorvac roared, slicing back. Hawk blocked with a forearm brace, then drove a blade into Zorvac's shoulder. Still, the alien didn't stop. He tackled Hawk to the ground. Fist to face. Bone cracked. But Hawk was already pulling something from his belt. A small vial. Glowing blue. Zorvac froze. "Zarkali venom," Hawk said, teeth bloodied. Poison of the tribes you laughed at. Zorvak's face twisted. You wouldn't. I already did. Hawks slammed the vial into Zorvak's chest and punched the seal. The glass shattered. The toxin surged. Zorvak stumbled back, gasping. You cheated. No, Hawk whispered. I won. Zorvak's knees buckled. His weapons fell. His breath rattled once, then silence. A minute later, Hawk stood over the body. Blood dripping, bruises blooming. Breathing ragged. He keyed into his comms. Extraction confirmed. Target neutralized. Then he turned and walked to the center of the clearing. From the folds of his vest, he pulled a single Terran combat sign, the same one he'd planted on his first kill. This one read, Rule number 1, don't celebrate early. He drove it into the dirt beside Zorvak's body. Then vanished back into the trees. The next day, when Galactic reinforcements finally arrived, all they found were burned footprints, silent trees, and a single blinking Terran beacon stuck to a vine. It read, Debrief complete. Jungle holds the rest.